to be very quick. It's not so much a book launch, it's more like a book presentation. Last year, I started Ouida Books because I thought it would be a good idea to take on something else to make my life difficult. You know, Ake Festival, Kaba Fest, Book Boss Foundation, why not have Ouida Books too? But the real reason that I did it was that I always feel that the more the merrier when it comes to outlets for publication. And I just kept feeling to myself that we've got so many incredibly talented authors in Nigeria, and it would just make me so proud to be able to have their words on paper and have the Ouida Books logo on the back of the book. So I'm going to, you know how people say that books are like your children? So these books really do kind of feel like my children, and I'm going to introduce you to the authors. You may have met them already. Now, 2 of them were birthed via a surrogate mother. And what that means is that they were basically books that had been published before by a publisher in the US or the UK. But 2 of them came, I don't know how to say this without sounding very, very naughty. Should I just say it? That's why I like you people. You make me naughty. Well, 2 of them basically came out of a lot of hard work, of course, from the authors, but also as a result of a collaborative endeavor. We sat, we worked, we edited like mad over considerable periods of time, and so there's a certain sentimental attachment that I have to 2 of these books, whereas the other 2, I just look at them and I'm full of admiration for the incredible work that the authors have done. So the way this is going to work, just so you are aware, is that I'm going to introduce these beautiful authors. They're going to come and sit with me, and I'm going to ask them one question, which they will all answer. And then I'm going to ask them all to read just a tiny bit from their book, maybe read for about 90 seconds. And then I'm going to ask them all to stand up so you can take pictures, and that's it. And the reason we're doing it that way is that I know that you're tired, and after that, we will go and have dinner, and the play that was supposed to start at 7:30, we will now start that play at 9 o'clock, okay? So that you have a bit of a break, and it's only 45 minutes long, so we'll leave at 9:45, and we'll call it a day until tomorrow morning. So, is everybody okay with that? We'll just do it that way. Okay, so I'm going to start with this book, which was described, as I'm going to read it, by Helen Habila. An Abundance of Scorpions is both a heartbreaking tale of loss and an uplifting story of a woman's strength and determination to overcome whatever obstacles life throws in her path. Written in clear, direct prose that is a pleasure to read. Please join me in welcoming Miss Hadiza Isma El-Rufia. You see, nobody will ever call you Your Excellency again. These are some of the perks of being a writer. But I think you'll survive it. Yeah. She doesn't really care about that anyway. And then next, I'm going to invite the author or the poet. And this is what Chris Abani has to say. Dami Ajayi writes poignantly about family loss, trauma, and the mystery of the human psyche with compassion and deep insight. With poems reaching always for the redemptive, Ajayi renders a seldom seen vulnerability in Nigerian poetics, leaving the reader with more hope and full of light. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Dami Ajayi. Some people have said that his collection of poems is one of the best to come out of Africa this year. I encourage you to buy it and read it. It's really stunning. The next person I'm going to invite is someone that you all know because she has made us so proud. She has made Nigeria proud, and she has made Africa proud. Only just recently, she was on the short list of the Bailey's Prize. And one of my favorite blurbs that we got was from Rotimi Babatunde, who says, "Stay with me is that rarest of accomplishments, a richly imagined novel that boasts great literary sophistication." Ladies and gentlemen, I present Ayobami Adebayo. I want to be like you. And this is how stunning a book that you've written. So the next author that I'm going to invite, I'm just going to read a few things about some of the prizes that she's won. Winner of the 2011 World Fantasy Award for Best Fantasy Novel. Winner of the 2010 Carl Brandon Kindred Award. Winner of the 2010 Reviewer's Choice Award. Best Book Award, Science Fiction. A 2010 Locus Award finalist for the Best Fantasy Novel. A 2010 Nebula Award nominee. A 2011 Tiptree Honor Book Award. Finalist for the 2010 Black Excellence Award. A Publishers Weekly Best Book of 2010. An Amazon.com Best Book of 2010. A Library School Journal Best Book of 2010. Give it up for Nnedi Okorafor. Okay, so if you were a publisher and you had these authors in your stable, would you not be proud? It is such a fantastic honor for me. Sometimes I look at these books and I'm just like, wow. You know, really, really, really big wow. And it's been such an honor and a privilege to work with each and every one of you and to be able to birth these, what I think are very beautiful publications in the Nigerian space. Now, very quickly, I should say to you, I get the fantastic pleasure of working with people like Hanifa Adams, who did the cover design. Hanifa, stand up, take a bow. There she is. If you've seen some of those massive things outside, the words of wisdom from all those incredible women, those were created using Adire by Hanifa Adam. With this one, stay with me, we have Stanley Obende to thank for this amazing cover. With this one, this is the work of Justin, who is often called Mogwai, the Wunderkid, on Twitter. He did this incredible cover. And we got permission from the amazing, you know him, I know him, Victor Ekikameno. So I do feel so lucky that I get to work with my contemporaries who are playing with the paintbrush, and of course, so many incredibly talented young artists. But I think what is most fascinating and what I'm most grateful for with these books is that they are completely made in Nigeria. The printing, the cover, the illustrations, the typesetting, every single bit of the way, these books are made in Nigeria and produced in Nigeria. And I'm really, really proud of that. So I'm going to, have you got your mic there? You've got your mic. So I'm going to ask you just one question that I would like you all to answer, and we'll start with Nnedi. And it's this: what drove you to write this book?
Who Fears Death was, what drove me to write Who Fears Death was the passing of my father. I was very close with my father, and my whole family was very close, and when he passed, I was extremely angry. He had Parkinson's. He was a cardiovascular surgeon that makes your hands shake. And he also, being a heart surgeon, he died of congestive heart failure, so I was extremely angry. And the day of his wake keeping, at the end of it, I found myself in this room where I was with his body and no one else was in there. And I remember looking down and seeing his face and thinking, that doesn't look like him anymore. And then I remember this something very powerful entering me, and it was from the ground, and I just felt like it would destroy that entire room. And at some point, my mom came in with my sister and took me out of there. And it was that night that I started writing Who Fears Death. I had no idea who the main character was, nothing. I just started writing the book.
Thank you very, very much, Nnedi.
So I got the idea for the story that would become Stay With Me in 2008. One of my friends had passed on. She had sickle cell anemia, and she passed on suddenly. And about a couple of years later, I was at a function, and I ran into her mother. And I sat opposite her at the table. And I knew what had happened was tragic and all of that, but at a point I just looked up. I think I must have been reading or something, and I saw the way she was looking at me. And all of a sudden, it just hit me in that moment what this means. How, I mean, a daughter and I were friends, and we'd gone to school together, and she was friends with my mother. How, when I would graduate from university, she would get an invitation. If I did anything, she would know about it. And I began to think about what it means to live with that kind of loss and to survive it and to move on with your life in spite of it. So that's how I began to think about all the things that came together to become Stay With Me.
Thank you very much, Ayobami.
I think the question was what drove me to write the book. I started thinking about writing this story because of the work I did at an orphanage in Abuja. And it was a very fulfilling work for me. I used to go and stay with the orphans, and that got me thinking about issues of identity, you know, how we define ourselves. And I was wondering about those kids that often were just picked up on the streets. We don't really know their background, but somehow we now give them the identity that we decide to give them, and that would be what they will grow up to be. So that's how the story started. I wanted to write about an orphan that grew up in an orphanage and to explore issues of identity and what makes us who we are.
So,
Thank you very much, Dami.
so I guess my story is a bit different because I write poetry. I'd written a book called Clinical Blues, and it was quite well received. And following the success of the book, many people came to me or spoke to me about how they felt, well, they were really interested in my next book, because essentially until you've written your second book, nobody really takes you seriously. So it was out of that I decided that, oh well, I need to write another book, and that's how it came about.
Okay. It's not about all sorts of naughtiness that you managed to get up to.
Well,
Because
yes.
this book, good Lord, I could tell you stories.
Well, there's that too, but yeah, but I mean, I won't deny the fact that I'm a confessional poet. I'm often triggered by events that happen to me and that happen to people that I know. And also, I think in a sense, it's I'm a coming of age now. I mean, I've come of age, and I'm actually like saying bye to bachelorhood. So in a sense, I think this book, yeah, it's an ode to bachelorhood in a sense, yeah. So yeah.
Yes. So, I'm going to ask these amazing authors to read small excerpts for us to enjoy, so we get a flavor of their books. As you know, the idea is we don't want to take any of these books back to Lagos. So we expect you, when they finish reading, to come and buy all of them. You hear me, so? You've all gone quiet now. Is it because you went to climb mountain? No, so we're going to enjoy short readings, and when we come to Dami, Dami is going to read us maybe 2 of his poems, so we get a real flavor of these books. So can we start with you, Nnedi? Are you still looking? Would you like to? Yeah? Okay. Ayobami.
Although sleep stays away, every night I shut my eyes, and pieces of the life I left behind come back to me. I see the batik pillowcases in our bedroom, our neighbors, and your family, which, for a misguided period, I thought was also mine. I see you. Tonight, I see the bedside lamp you gave me a few weeks after we got married. I could not sleep in the dark, and you had nightmares if we left the fluorescent lights on. That lamp was your solution. You bought it without telling me you'd come up with a compromise, without asking me if I wanted a lamp. And as I stroked its bronze base and admired the tinted glass panels that formed its shade, you asked me what I would take out of the building if our house was burning. I didn't think about it before saying, "Our baby," even though we did not have children yet. Something, you said, not someone. But you seemed a little hurt that when I thought it was someone, I did not consider rescuing you.
Thank you very much, Ayobami. I think I'll just go to my right now.
The voices grew louder and louder. I forced my eyes open. Blinding light. A strange room. Someone was lying on a bed across from me, one leg held in a traction device. Odd. This was a hospital. Was I ill? Confused, I turned my head to the side, splitting headache. At the end of the room, a blurry figure sat slouched in a chair. A woman. She looked familiar. Where did I know her from? Who's there? Though my mind shouted, my mouth did not move. I tried to sit up. Every movement felt like a knife in my chest. I called out again. My voice was no more than a whisper, but the woman heard it. She raised her head and rushed to my side. Thank God you are awake. It was Esther, my best friend. I recognized her now. Where am I? You've been in an accident. The moment she uttered the word accident, everything came back to me. Yakubu, Fatima, and I were on our way to Kano. Then, Yakubu's voice, my daughter's laugh, a frightening shriek, the burning screech of tires. Where's Yakubu? Where's Fatima? My eyes peered into Esther's. Hers were red, the lower eyelids swollen. Dread spread through my body when she looked away. Where are they? I yelled. Where's my husband? Only when I tried to sit up did I realize that my right wrist was attached to a drip bag. Esther put her arms around me. I'm sorry, my dear. I'm so sorry. She kept repeating those words between sobs. No! I screamed and pushed her away so I could yank the needle from my wrist. A nurse appeared behind her with a syringe in hand. Then they held me down, and suddenly I felt very drowsy. When I opened my eyes again, something that felt like a stone had lodged itself deep in my chest. Esther was now lying on a mat on the floor. My father-in-law was the one sitting on the chair this time, reading the Quran. Baba was a tall man with a long Fulani nose on which now rested a pair of round, rimless reading glasses. I watched him for a long moment. He seemed to sense my eyes on him and lifted his head. With the help of a walking stick, he heaved himself up and trudged to my side. How is your body? He asked. I'm okay, I said, and waited for him to tell me what I already knew. He took off his glasses and started fiddling with them. Tambaya, we all come from God, and for sure, we're all going back to him.
Thank you very much. Nnedi?
Yeah, hopefully this
Okay.
isn't too long. Hopefully. Chapter 1, My Father's Face. My life fell apart when I was 16. Papa died. He had such a strong heart, yet he died. Was it the heat and smoke from his blacksmithing shop? It's true that nothing can take him from his work, his art. He loved to make the metal bend to obey him, but his work only seemed to strengthen him. He was so happy in his shop. So what was it that killed him? To this day, I can't be sure. I hope it had nothing to do with me or what I did back then. Immediately after he died, my mother came running out of their bedroom, sobbing and throwing herself against the wall. I knew then that I would be different. I knew in that moment I would never again be able to fully control the fire inside me. I became a different creature that day, not so human. Everything that happened later, I now understand, started then. The ceremony was held on the outskirts of town near the sand dunes. It was the middle of the day and terribly hot. His body lay on a thick white cloth surrounded by a garland of braided palm fronds. I knelt there in the sand next to his body, saying my last goodbye. I'll never forget his face. It didn't look like Papa's anymore. Papa's skin was dark brown, his lips full. This face had sunken cheeks, deflated lips, and skin like gray-brown paper. Papa's spirit had gone elsewhere. The back of my neck prickled. My white veil was a poor protection from people's ignorant and fearful eyes. By this time, everyone was always watching me. I clenched my jaw. Around me, women were on their knees weeping and wailing. Papa was dearly loved, despite the fact that he had married my mother, a woman with a daughter like me, an Ewu daughter. That had long been excused as one of those mistakes even the greatest men can make. Over the wailing, I heard my mother's soft whimper. She had suffered the greatest loss. It was her turn to have her moment. Afterwards, they'd take him for cremation. I looked down in his face one last time. I'll never see you again, I thought. I wasn't ready. I blinked and touched my chest. That's when it happened, when I touched my chest. At first, it felt like an itchy tingle, and it quickly swelled to something greater. I'll stop there.
Thank you very much, Nnedi.
Yeah, so
Dami.
context for this poem, it's called Port Harcourt, and it's about night crawling in Port Harcourt. No gardens in the garden city, just roads that shine black with night drizzle and living mannequins adorning the streets. To be naked is a privilege, the cab driver says, out-of-job graduate, eloquent but for his lisp. He trudges the Shidan towards Casablanca. This Casablanca is not B-rated. The locals say it has the transformative power of a miracle, and we believe. Amen. Makeshift stalls watched by oil lamps flaring monoxide to God, dim light salsas on crisp cellophane of gold circle, action beaters, and Ori slims. Orc at the entrance spots a Goliath frown that dissolves at the sight of crisp tips. The poet from Kenya, sporting his plaid jacket, doesn't look legal. Orc refuses entry. We compete with Wizkid's croon, your bum bum bigger than Bombay, and shout into Orc's cauliflower ear. He is a poet. He is a poet. He is a big, big poet. Then Orc asks, what is a poet? So this other poem is about time, and I mean, what time means to us as humans and as writers. So it's called On Time. 1, when I wasn't writing, I ticked away. Hours, bantering, preening, touch screening, cyber missives wheeled away by unread terms of conditions that apply. 2, I strive to be normal again, human, as I free fall from the hyper-human pedestal where writers preside. I look in the mirror and see beyond the porch and a receding airline that seemed to say, time they go. 3, a year swishes faster than a yawn. Ask maidens how quickly one can become more than one. Ask mothers how fast daughters can be gone. Ask fathers the time it takes for dreams to become undone. 4, time, like time disappears into a broth. This secret for centuries has brought men to strange tables and beds, heads bowed, fingers cupped, in the routine of digging into seething soups of concubines in lieu of time spent with querulous better halves, in lieu of fine wine shared with friends. 5, time trickles and tickles, cycling with the ease of men in the evening of their lives. Time connives with land to rid us of promises and pleasures. Time deceives stopwatches and defeats wall clocks. Even the errant cock plays prey. When I wasn't writing, time was cheating on me. Thank you.
So there you have it, everyone. the Ouida authors of 2017 that I am extremely, extremely proud of, and I have no doubt that you will very much enjoy their work. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, thank you, thank you.